Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 216, Podcast Rewind. Episode 119, The Essence of Assertiveness is Integrity. Well, welcome back to this month where we are grabbing some more episodes from the vault so we can revisit some important topics. This week we'll be listening to episode 119, which is all about how the essence of assertiveness, I think, is integrity. Standing in your truth and owning it. On the Facebook Live this coming Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the opposite of good character, and that is all about how to spot gaslighting and emotional manipulation, which I think is anything but honest and safe. So before we get into this episode, let's talk about what is integrity and what does it have to do with assertiveness. Well, integrity, I think, is a cornerstone of character. It's about qualities like honesty, trustworthiness, and reliability. And yet it's more than this. I think it's a whole web of principles that guide our actions and decisions. It's your personalized code of ethics. It's shaped by your values, your beliefs, and your life experiences. In the end, I think it forms the very essence of who you are. It's often born out of what you've walked through and what you've learned so far. Now, we talk in this episode about how each of us has the power to define our own integrity and just create this really cool tapestry of virtues that resonates with our soul, literally. I think it's a deeply personal journey. I think it requires a lot of introspection, a lot of self-awareness, because we have to discern the principles that we're going to stand up for no matter what. In other words, things that won't change no matter the circumstances or who's standing in front of us. However, that's the easy part. You know the true test of your integrity lies in living it out consistently, which is hard. It's one thing to start something, it's another thing to maintain it. Especially when we're confronted with challenging circumstances that might tempt us to compromise our principles. In those moments of trial, I think our integrity can be our moral compass. It can guide us towards a path that feels right for us and gives us strength of character. And that really shines through when we hold on to our principles, even when it's hard. I also think that when we live this out the best we can, not perfectly, we have a lot less internal conflict and thus less anxiety and greater confidence. Building integrity is a lifelong thing, I think. It means we have to have a commitment to growth, self-improvement, and being better people. It means refining, honing, and deepening our moral compass, staying true to our core values while being adaptable to life, right? And so assertiveness is a big part of that because you stand in your truth, which you have to define first for yourself. Then you share that with others. So let's get to it. Episode 119. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 119. The essence of assertiveness is integrity. Now, as you know, all month we've been talking about how assertiveness is so intertwined with our motivation, our commitment, and I think most importantly, our identity. Today, I want to wrap up the month by getting into what I think the true essence of assertiveness is, and that is integrity. Our character, how we see ourselves in the world, what we think of ourselves as a person. But when you think of integrity, what comes to mind? Being honest, trustworthy, reliable maybe? Well, I think it's these things, but I think it's so much more than that. And also the neat thing is you are the only one, though, who can decide what you want to comprise your own integrity. Then the hardest part comes, which is living it out especially when we are tested. I want to talk about some of the important aspects of integrity. These by no means are all of them, and I'm sure you can come up with other ones for yourself, and I want you to. But I think one of the most common things we think about when we think of integrity are values. Are you clear what your values are? Have you taken a long look at them lately? Why are they your values? What life experiences perhaps may have influenced those? Because they often do. The other thing we want to take a look at is our beliefs, like what we believe about the world, what we believe about other people, about life itself, and about ourselves. We want to think, too, about what helped form those beliefs. And do we still want to keep them? Like, are they distorted? Do we want to change them maybe, trade them in for some better ones? And why? Why do we want to do that? Because remember, what we believe in and what we value drives our proverbial bus, like we've talked about before. It drives all of our decisions, all of our behaviors. Not being aware of what we believe in and value and deciding whether or not we want to keep those beliefs and values is how I think we can really lose ourselves and therefore lose our integrity. Conversely, I think feeling good about our beliefs and values makes it so much easier to know what to do when you're faced with important decisions, to know how we want to behave, to know how we want to treat other people, how we want ourselves to be treated, and what kind of life we essentially want to have. What is that comprised of? What would bring it meaning? For example, if you really value healthy relationships, you're probably going to focus on putting healthier people in your life and being a healthier person. Because having healthy around you matters to you, and relationships mean a lot, and you understand that the healthier people have better quality relationships. I think we also desire alignment, where, we make sense and all of our parts are in alignment with all the others. I think we want to feel congruent, like our values and our beliefs reflect who we say we really want to be, and everything should kind of feel like it fits together instead of contradicting each other. Like when you see disparate parts in a person, you see internal conflict, and you often see a lot of anxiety and lots of drama in their life as a result. Because I think they're essentially fighting themselves. There's that internal fight. And that's not what we want, right? We want to feel serene. We want to feel confident. We want to be grounded. And we want to be proud of who we are, or at least who we are becoming. And there's been a lot of research out there that shows that even people who act out and act out badly deep down want to be loved, they want to like who they are, and they want others to like who they are. They just don't know how to get there yet. I think another big aspect of integrity is courage, because it takes courage to stand in your truth. I mean, let's say you've done all this work, but now it's time to put it out in the world. And let's face it, that's not always easy. I think it takes courage to face possible rejection from others, ridicule maybe, and at the worst, loss of relationship. People have lost jobs because they've been let go because they spoke up about something unethical, or they just couldn't continue participating. I've had to do that. That's not easy. It's not easy to stand on your principles, because sometimes you can feel like you're really standing alone. So therefore, it means holding on to your authentic self, even if it means letting go of something or someone else. So having the courage to risk loss and do it for the higher purpose, so that you don't have to give up who you are. Now, a lot of people say those aren't good friends or good partners or healthy family members who would want you to give up who you are in order to be with them. A more obvious aspect of integrity is good moral character. Okay, I think this one is talked about more. What kind of morals do we have? What kind of beliefs do we hold? Do we believe we should not harm other people? Do we think we should reach out with compassion and help them if they are hurting or struggling? Or do we think they should figure it out themselves? Do we think often of the greater good? Or are we more focused on what's good for us? And to hell with everyone else? This can often tie in, I think, with one's spiritual beliefs or worldview and, how they were raised in terms of what makes a good person. Here's the thing, you get to decide what you think is moral and ethically sound and what matters to you most and why. And regardless of how you were raised, regardless of what environments you came from, you can change that if you want. Another aspect is honesty. Integrity is often tied to the idea of being forthright and not being dishonest. But I think we can hide the truth in many ways that we may not even notice, like exaggerating to get attention or to seem bigger than you are, or to make the story more interesting. Maybe minimizing what you did to hurt another person, or minimizing how maybe they hurt you because you're afraid of conflict. There's omission. We leave out details that are pertinent. Another one that isn't often as talked about is compartmentalization. That's when we compartmentalize what we tell certain people, like leaving out the gory details that we know that one person may call us out upon. Speaking the whole truth as much as we need it from others, right, can seem daunting to folks who grew up in families that couldn't handle, much less face, the whole truth. They couldn't handle your thoughts and your feelings and your needs and your boundaries. They couldn't handle looking at themselves. There's that growing up with a sense of conditional acceptance. So that's why we may tell one friend part of a story, believe out things that we're not proud of or things that might upset them or have them think differently of us. So, it's impression management. Integrity means, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to tell the whole truth and I'm going to put it out there and I might be judged. I might upset people and they may think less of me. The other aspect of honesty we talk about a lot here on the show is emotional honesty. That means telling people what vulnerably you're really thinking and feeling and needing, like what the real core truth for you is. Like what was driving your behavior yesterday? Because you were just hurting, you were scared, you were angry. Emotional honesty means no manipulation and no controlling behavior. So essentially, you're not focused on the other person, you're focused on you, and you're telling them what it's really about. So transparency, your insides are matching your outsides. I think one that's not talked about, maybe it's assumed, is boundaries. Having good boundaries, being able to say no, being able to hear no in a mature way, accepting where you end and others begin. Being in reality, not trying to change reality or deny it or get mad at other people because they're telling you their truth. So not manipulating, not leaking our feelings out sideways because we refuse to sit down and deal with our feelings and fears, or set a boundary with someone, or ask for what we need, or have the courage to walk away. If we don't have good boundaries, I don't think we can have a great sense of self. So how are we going to have good integrity? I just don't see that as possible. In fact, when I work with coaching clients, one of the first things we usually start talking about is, how are your boundaries? Where do we need to do some work here? There might be some more nuanced areas that you're not aware of. Another area is the ability to grieve. And I didn't really come across this anywhere. This is my own addition. You've heard me say the ability to grieve helps us grow up on the inside, helps us have good boundaries, helps us deal with reality, helps us honor and own and express our feelings in healthy ways. And it changes who we are as a person. It brings meaning for us into our life. It helps us be more grounded and serene. And the other big thing that is so not talked about is we can let other people grieve. We can really actually show up and be emotionally present for people in our life who are hurting and not squirm and get uncomfortable or get mad at them because they're upset. We don't have to fix their feelings because we're not trying to fix our own anymore. We're allowing feelings. It makes us far more approachable, far more reliable, and congruent. So the ability to grieve, and a lot of people struggle with that, especially in my country. We're taught to get over it, medicate it, keep it moving. It never happened. Whereas I think other cultures historically have done a better job of acknowledging grief. The community actually participates in it and supports it, and it gives it time to play out. When you think about it, if you can't grieve, you can't develop and mature emotionally. It's kind of hard to have really good integrity and do grown-up stuff if emotionally we're just not grown up. I think another big piece of integrity is taking responsibility. And a big one is keep your promises. Keep your promises to yourself and to others. I think it builds self-trust, but I also think it's more respectful of other people's time, energy, money, feelings, and the relationship you have with them. Like, how much do you value them? We show people how much we value them by taking responsibility for ourselves so we're not harming them with the net effects of all the crap that happens when we don't take care of ourselves. The other aspect of that is, how do you want to be treated? Your double standards aren't okay, even though we'd love to have them. If we want other people to treat us well, then we must do that in return. Put yourself in another person's shoes, not to caretake or people please or rescue them, but instead, I think, to gather perspective, to grab some compassion and respect for them, see how it feels to be on the other side of you. Sometimes we don't think about that until we intentionally try to be in their shoes, or we end up there a month later and we're like, wow, now I understand why she was so upset. Because there are some situations where you can't know till you're in it. And then two people on either side of the equation are having a completely different experience, and that's no one's fault. But all we can do is try to have perspective, neutralize it, and say, no wonder she's upset. And it's okay that she's upset. If I were in her shoes, I would be too. So follow through, keep your promises, no double standards, practice perspective and empathy, because that goes a long way in relationships. And that leads us to the final one, which I call compassion and caring. And I mean truly caring for what is another person's highest good. And to check ourselves that we're not making it all about us either, even though we would never admit that. And what I mean by that is not making it about what we want for them, even if those are our children, let's say, and we want wonderful things. That's about us. Maybe that's not what they want. We make it about us so that we can feel needed, so that we think we know what's best. But here's the thing, true compassion is sitting in their seat, imagining how they must feel, what they must be up against, and remembering the process that we all must walk through, and you know how that ain't easy. If you disagree with me, I just want you to think back for a moment to a time when it took you a hot minute to figure out something or face something or work through some truths about yourself you didn't want to look at, to come to acceptance around something hard. Before we judge another person's process, we should think about how long it took us to get our shit together. Because it takes what it takes. And it's a very vulnerable thing. So those are some of the aspects of integrity that I often think about. And when I help clients hone in on getting better boundaries together, grabbing empathy and perspective, grieving to maturity, taking responsibility for what they think, feel, need, and do, owning their choices, keeping their promises, grabbing courage, living out their values, and really taking a hard look at what beliefs they want to hold and beliefs they want to make present in their life. And the end result is just a relief where their insides match their outsides, and they don't have to be two people anymore. And they don't have to be what other people need them to be anymore either. And they have a lot less anxiety and a lot less depression and better quality relationships. I think there's a direct correlation between working on your integrity and raising your self-esteem. So I want to take a moment and do an exercise. If you can, close your eyes. If you're driving or walking, please don't. Just try to picture something in your mind. Just see whatever comes up. Okay, ready? So I want you to envision you a year or so from now, and I want you to see the fruits of how hard you've been working on your integrity. Where are you? What are you doing? What are you feeling? What's different? What's different from now? I want you to take a moment and soak in how good that feels. What a relief. Finally honoring yourself. I want you to bask in that feeling. You're now in alignment. Your insides truly match your outsides now. And your life is beginning to reflect that. Look at how your relationships have changed. Look at how what you put in your life has changed. Think about how good that feels. Be very proud of yourself. It took a lot of courage and some hard work to get here. This is bought and paid for integrity. There are behaviors that maybe today and things going on in your life today that you don't feel so great about. But in your visualization, what does the opposite of all that look like now? Picture that. What's gone from your life? What's added to your life? What are some of your new mantras? Now I want you to switch that visual between where you see yourself a year from now to how you see yourself right now today. Bring it back. What are the differences that you see and feel? What doesn't feel right? What are you ashamed of, perhaps? Feel guilt around? What needs to go or change? Or what new behaviors maybe do you want to learn and become better at? And then finally, maybe what changes have you already been working on lately that you're starting to feel proud of? So compare and contrast the new you a year from now and the you currently. Notice what feelings come up. Okay, so come back to now. So what was that like for you? Know that we are all somewhere on the continuum between where we are and where we ultimately want to be. I think the wonderful thing is that we can get there. I think as long as we're honest and we're ready to do the work of changing and we get some help and some loving accountability to do that. I can tell you that I've had the honor of witnessing clients' journeys over the years, as well as my own. And there's nothing more transforming or powerful than stepping into the person they always wanted to be, just weren't ready earlier. Life got in the way. They let themselves down. They made choices that didn't honor themselves. And I want to finish up by saying what we know and the research shows is that when people live by a new set of values and really prioritize their integrity and they work hard at creating a different life, it helps them heal the past. So if you have things in your past that are just really hard to look at and hard to live with, ways you've treated yourself, things you've done, things you didn't do and let yourself down by not doing, opportunities you didn't take, all that stuff. There are some things we cannot make up for, but there are a lot of things that we can. We can live by new values. We can become a more courageous, honest, forthright, loving person. All we have to do is want to. So today we wrapped up the month on assertiveness by talking about a very important topic, and that is integrity. How you want to see yourself. Who do you ultimately want to be at the core? We talked about what comprises integrity, like honesty and good boundaries, taking responsibility, learning how to grieve, owning your beliefs, practicing compassion, looking at your worldview. Okay, so there you have it. We talked about ultimately how integrity is not just an ideal to aspire to, but a way of being that nurtures our sense of wholeness and peace within ourselves. When we align our thoughts, our words, our actions with our core values, we can really create a sense of inner harmony that radiates outward and has a lot of positive impact on the people and the world around us. It means taking responsibility for our choices, learning from our mistakes, and showing humility and success. It means treating others with respect, empathy, and fairness, while nurturing trustful relationships built on sincerity and transparency, like we've been talking about on the show. I think we also lower our anxiety and increase our confidence in ourselves when we work on our integrity. We create self-trust. All right, so hopefully you grabbed some things that you can take with you today, and you were able to take a look at yourself and do the visualization that was in the episode. And no matter where you are, no matter how far you've come and maybe fallen off the horse, the cool thing is we can get back on, and we can always continue to become the person we were meant to be. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't already get the newsletter that comes out every Tuesday, has the current podcast episode on it and all of the other news and events, just go to ownitpowercast.com and sign up, or hit me up on social and I'll get you connected. All right, so pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.